Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens, and we are back for another edition of One-on-One, episode 187, 13 away from the glorious 200, and we are in week 9 of the NFL Power Rankings. Man, this is crazy. NFL season. It has been a fun ride so far. We are officially at the, I guess you could say, the midway point. The trade deadline is on Monday, but we got a lot to get into. Bottom, outside looking in, all that great stuff. We got a great game. Oh, I'll call it a great game. Maybe a couple years ago, this would have been a great game on, I guess, on paper with the Ravens going to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Lamar Jackson is back. So this should be a fun one that we have tonight. Two teams looking to get that third win and try to, get back on the right foot. The season is still semi-early and things still can happen, but we shall see what happens tonight between the Ravens and the Dolphins. With that being said, let's go ahead and get it going. Episode 187 of One-on-One begins now. One.
Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to One-on-One at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 187 of One-on-One here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. And, of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Look, we are here, week 9. We are a day away from Halloween, all the ghouls and goblins popping up, all the good stuff. All that stuff is about to go down here in the next couple of days, and we're in November. Like the countdown to Christmas, we'll hear Mariah Carey singing high notes soon that we didn't ask for. But all that fun stuff is about to go down. But we are, more importantly, getting ready for week 9 of the NFL season. We got a lot of fun matchups happening, and we got to figure out where we stand. Where do we stand? Where do we stand on the Darrell Owens Power Rankings here heading into week 9? Do we have a new number one? The number one stayed the same? We'll find all that out. But we have Ravens and Dolphins tonight, and spoiler, I got the Ravens winning this one, but I don't know. The Dolphins played well last week. They both got wins last week, much needed wins. So some team has a chance to go, on a 2-game winning streak, or you get tie, which we don't want to see any of that. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into it with the bottom. All right. The bottom for week 9 of the NFL season. There is a new number one at the bottom. And that team, ladies and gentlemen, the Tennessee Titans. The Jets had the dubious honor of holding that record for the last couple of weeks, but the Jets got a win. The New York Football Jets, and a comeback win in the fourth quarter. They were down 38-24 and ended up winning their game 39-38. They were down 38-24, come back and win towards the end of that game and getting a win. So shout out to the Jets. But before we get into the Jets, to talk about the number 32 team, the Tennessee Titans. Boy, oh boy, it's not a good football team, y'all. I know if you're in the bottom, more likely you're not a good football team, especially at this point of the season. They went up against, last week's number one team, the Indianapolis Colts, and they get shellacked 38-14. 38-14. Cam Ward threw for 259 yards, 22 for 38, a touchdown and a pick, but it just wasn't enough. Like the Colts just outdid the Titans on everything. It just made them look bad. And so, they really felt like there was no real bright spots for this Titans team. We're going to hear a lot of trade rumors coming from this team here in the next week, in the next couple of days with the trade deadline. The trade deadline is on Tuesday, on Election Day. So it's just a lot going on there. Not a good football team. They're going to have a new head coach next year, a lot of rebuilding. There's going to be a lot going on in Tennessee. So Tennessee fans, I'm sorry. At least you get a new stadium soon. We'll see how it all goes. Tennessee's at 32. At 31, the New Orleans Saints, another team that hasn't gotten any better. We found out that Tyler Schott will get the start. He will be the man in charge heading into this week against their opponent. He will get the start this week. And I'm intrigued to see how he'll do against a Rams team. It probably won't be pretty. But this Saints team has hung in the games, and I've said that multiple times on the pod, on here on the show, and they've had opportunities. They just haven't been able to, make it happen. But they've been at least somewhat competitive. It wasn't the case last week against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay winning 23-3. And, the Saints are just, unfortunately, just not a good football team. That's what it comes down to. They don't have they got some. Here's the thing, though. They have solid weapons. Shaheed is a really good receiver. You got Chris Olave, so you got two really good receivers. Jawan Johnson at tight end has had a solid season. You got Kamara, but Kamara's not having the impact that he's had in past years. He was a subject of trade rumors before they said he shot that down and said he would retire if they tried to trade him. Spencer Rattler started the game off, and Tyler Schott would end up finishing it. It's just not a good football team. So whatever they figure out, I had them going, I think, 1-16. So they're on pace to make me look good. The Saints are at 31. At 30, the New York Football Jets finally getting that first win, beating the Bengals. And I was proud of this Jets team because I feel like, Justin Fields went through a lot last week with what the owner had to say about him. And, Tyrod Taylor was supposed to start. He gets banged up before the game, which is unfortunately a Tyrod Taylor thing. Right before he's supposed to start, bad things happen. I do not understand. But hopefully this will be what Justin Fields and the New York Jets need as they go throughout the rest of the season. Yes, it looks grim right now, but you still have a chance to fight. And we'll see what the New York Jets can do the rest of the season. At 29, the Cleveland Browns. The Browns 2-6 on the season. The Browns also just not a good football team. And they wasted an amazing performance from Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks in the game. 5 sacks. In most cases, if you say, hey, man, 5-sack day, how much did your team win by? Oh, in the Browns case, they say, oh, no, sorry. We lost by 19. So it's just the Browns also are a really young team on the offensive side of the ball. The defense is pretty solid. They just don't have enough offensive weapons to do what they need to get done. So the season will continue to be long for the Cleveland Browns. They're at 29. At 28, the New York Football Giants. Now, the Giants, I feel bad for the Giants. Losing Scatterbo in the game to a dislocated ankle, and it was gruesome, y'all. It was not a pretty deal. And he's out for the season, and all the momentum and energy that he was bringing to this team. They already lost Malik Neighbors. It does not get easier for the New York Football Giants here on out. And there's a lot that they've got to try to figure out and to see if they can keep things going throughout this season. But a tough game against the Giants, and it just wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't meant to be. The Eagles went in there, put up 38 points against them. But at one point, I felt like this game, had a chance to be competitive, but it felt like all the energy got sucked out when Scatterbo got hurt. The Giants are at 28. At 27, the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins getting a win against the Falcons. A surprising 34-10 win against the Falcons. The Falcons football team is one of those teams that they're just so perplexing. You don't know exactly what you're going to get from them on a week-to-week basis. They lose 30-0 to the Panthers. They beat up the Commanders the following week. They're in the mix. Then they take the bye, they come back, and they just get beat up by the Miami Dolphins, who have played miserable football this year. But nevertheless, the Dolphins get the win. They move to 2-6, and they got the Ravens tonight. At 26, the Vegas Raiders. Vegas was on the bye last week, so we didn't have to worry about them getting beat up, but it doesn't look good. Aiden O'Connell is back in the mix. I don't know if we may see him at some point, but he's had some good moments as a Raider, and I don't know if that ends up happening. Kenny Pickett I would assume would be the next quarterback since he's been there, been active more throughout the season. So, but the Raiders just not a good football team. No, nobody at the bottom is a good football team. It feels like at 25, the Arizona Cardinals also on a bye last week. They have lost 5 straight. At 24, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens getting their win, a much needed win against the Chicago Bears, 30-16. We saw Derrick Henry get back into the end zone. He had a 2-touchdown day with 21 carries and 71 yards. It still feels like they're trying to figure some things out. Tyler Huntley came in and did some things. Scoop was 17 for 22 and a touchdown for 186. It's not the sexiest, but it got the job done, and the Ravens finally get another win on the season. At 23, the Washington Commanders. Washington went into KC on Monday night, which it was an absolute honor to have an opportunity to be at that stadium and have that moment and see the 3-time Super Bowl champs in person and just see what they can do. 4-time Super Bowl champs in person and see what they can do. And it was fun to see Mahomes live, and they handled things. It was a tight game in the beginning. It was 7-7. Second half, Washington disappeared. Terry McLaurin scored the only touchdown for Washington in that game on a lollipop throw from Mariota, but great footwork by Terry to get both feet down and score the touchdown. But unfortunately, Terry reactivated or re-injured the quad, and he won't be playing this week against Seattle. Washington's in a free fall right now, and they've got to find a way to get out of that free fall because the schedule just doesn't get any easier from here. They got Seattle on Sunday night at home. Then you got the Lions at home. Then after the Lions, they don't get they got Miami in Spain, so you got to travel. And Miami, who knows, may be on a little streak as they get close to that time. Then they have a bye. Then they have the Broncos at the end of November on Sunday night. Then the Vikings, Giants, so on and so on. It just doesn't get any easier from here. So they've got to find a way to figure it out, or this season could be at a loss. At 22, the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati losing to the Jets. It was bad. It was bad, but it's a bad defense playing against a bad team. And, Joe Flacco and them, had things cooking at one point. And it just fell apart in the fourth. And the Jets ended up winning the game. And it's an embarrassing loss for the Bengals, And if this was the 90s, people would probably be like, oh, yeah, maybe not so much. No, this is an embarrassing loss. A very embarrassing loss for the Bengals. But the Jets get that much-needed win. Breece Hall had 133 yards in the game with 2 touchdowns for the Jets. And, it was just bad. So, but they're 22. Do they deserve it? Who knows? Who knows if they deserve it? At 21, we got the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, how can I put this? The Vikings are a team that really, really, really put themselves in a bad spot. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. You should have never got rid of Sam Darnold. Yes, J.J. McCarthy, you drafted him high. You want to see what he can do. But it's okay to wait. Just look at what Jordan Love did with the Packers. And I know not everybody can be the Packers and do that situation, but sometimes we've learned in the last couple of years here that some of these players who got drafted 5 or 6 years ago are just starting to shine, just starting to get into their groove. And maybe a little wait for McCarthy as he continues to grow and learn wouldn't have hurt. And now you got Sam Darnold with a 5-2 Seattle team. He should have never left. They were 14-3. There was no reason to get rid of Sam Darnold. No reason. And so they're at number 21. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here at the bottom. The Titans, the Saints, the Jets, the Browns, the Giants, the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Cardinals, Ravens, Commanders, Bengals, and last but not least, number 21, the Minnesota Vikings. As the bottom continues to get a little bit more clear, a little bit more ugly per se, things are just not as cute as they need to be, I guess you could say. So there maybe, in my opinion, the Bengals and the Ravens have the best chance out of the bottom teams to really make a true run per se, or get themselves in position to maybe get back, maybe in the playoff run in some form of the fashion via, division. So we'll see. With that being said, let's go ahead and head to the outside looking in. All right, outside looking in, starting at number 20, the Atlanta Falcons. Boy, Atlanta's just embarrassing. I don't know how they let the Dolphins beat them 34-10. 2 years ago, this makes complete sense. Right now, shouldn't make that much sense. And yes, they are all professionals. I do understand that. But man, it should not have went the way this went. And this Falcons team, I'm a little worried. I don't know how things will work out here for Morris, but that offense has to be better. There's too much talent in the offense. Now, they did not have Drake London. They end up not clearing him before the game. But when you got Bijan Robinson, when you got, normally Drake May healthy, a Kyle Pitts who people have been waiting to burst out. And I still feel like if he's on another team, this guy may be a star. It just hasn't worked out for him in Atlanta. And it's okay. If I'm Atlanta, I trade him. Try to see if you can get something for him. I don't know. But the Falcons are number 20, they're 3-4, and I feel like they should be better than where they are. At number 19, the Houston Texans. The Texans beat the 49ers 26-15. And, some of the young receivers coming up in the clutch. Xavier Hutchinson had a pretty solid day, 5 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown. He did some really good things for them. Marks was the lead running back. And he had 11 carries for 62 yards. C.J. Stroud, 30 for 39, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Solid day for C.J., but more importantly, getting a win over a 49ers team that was 5-2, who have been beat up, and they held Christian McCaffrey to 25 yards rushing. So shout out to the Texans as they get the win, and they're at number 19. At number 18, the Dallas Cowboys. Boy, Dallas screwed the pooch. I picked Dallas to beat the Broncos. I don't know what I was thinking, but what happened? They got a Uno reverse card. Last week or week before last, the Cowboys beat the Commanders 44-22. This week, they get beat 44-24 via the Broncos at Mile High. The Broncos team look really good, and Dallas defense is atrocious. That's something that they're going to have to really look into in the offseason. They could have a really elite pass rusher. Oh, they did have one of those. At number 17, we head to Carolina. 4-4, tough loss to the Bills, but nevertheless, they're in a good position to make a fight for a playoff spot. So this Carolina team may be going past a lot of expectations this year from teams, but I like what I see. Andy Dalton had to start this week. Bryce Young should be back for the Packers game, but we shall see. They're at 17. At 16, the Chicago Bears. Chicago is a disappointing team to me because they had a chance to move to 5-2, beat the Ravens, have one up on the Ravens team. Yes, they're beat up and battered, but they had a chance. And that's more reason why the Bears probably should have won this game. But they didn't. And the Ravens did everything they needed to do to get their second win of the season. And Chicago starts to make you wonder again, are they the Chicago team that we've seen in years past? That's what you start to wonder if you're a Bears fan after a game like that. At 15, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh losing to the Packers 35-25. First time the Packers have won in Pittsburgh since the 70s. Haven't beat them in Pittsburgh since the 70s. It's a long time. More importantly, the Packers did get a Super Bowl victory, but that's 15 years ago. But regardless, they hadn't beat the Pittsburgh Steelers since the 70s, almost, in the 50-year range. But more importantly, we had the battle of Aaron Rodgers versus Jordan Love for the first time. First time Aaron Rodgers had a chance to face his Green Bay Packers, his former team, and the Packers were able to hang on and get a win. They were losing at halftime 16-7, and then we saw Jordan Love go off. I mean, at one point, Jordan Love had 20 straight completions. He was cooking, man. And then, Tucker Kraft just being Tucker Kraft, man, just showing why he's one of the best tight ends in the league. He had 173 yards, all that stuff, receiving and a couple touchdowns. Pittsburgh, who has, one of the most expensive defenses in the league, or you can say all time, and it just didn't show up when they needed to. So they were, at one point, they were 4-1, looking good, and that division was falling apart, and it was all theirs. And now they've lost 2. The Bengals are not that far out, and now the Ravens are trying to find their way. So watch out, Pittsburgh. You got to be careful. At 14, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were on a bye this week. At number 13, the 49ers. They're 5-3. Tough loss to the Texans, but I still feel like despite all the injuries, this team has fought hard, and they're still looking to kind of keep things going and maybe bounce back here this following week. At 12, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers really showed the Vikings who ran the projects last Thursday night. 37-10, just a beatdown of beatdowns. Herbert, 18 for 25, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 227 yards. Vadal had 23 carries, 117 yards in a TD. McClunky had a touchdown with 6 receptions. They outclassed the Vikings. And then Carson Wentz got hurt. He's gone for the season. So we'll see J.J. McCarthy back this week. But the Chargers, nice win. They moved to 5-3. At 11, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs at one point were 1-3, and they were facing a game where they could have fell to 1-4 if they had lost to the Ravens. But since that time, they have won 4 straight games, and the Chiefs are starting to cook now. Watch out for the Kansas City Chiefs. I had a chance to see them in person. It was a very great experience. And what I saw is a team that wasn't even trying hard, and they look like they're ready to really, really give the league some problems here in the next 9 weeks. So watch out for Kansas City. Here it is, the outside looking in. Falcons, Texans, Cowboys, Panthers, Bears, Steelers, Jags, 49ers, Chargers, and at number 11, on the outside looking in, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the outside looking in is always that area where things can, move. Like that's that middle section where things can either fall into the bottom in a free fall or you shoot yourself right into the top 10. So, out of these teams, the Chiefs look like they're primed to be in the top 10 next week. Let's see what happens. Though. It's going to be a very interesting week. And they play Buffalo this week on Sunday night. So that's going to be not on Sunday night. I lie. It might be the Monday night game. I don't want to lie to y'all. It's a 4:25 game on Sunday. My fault, in Buffalo. So that should be a fun one. With that being said, let's find out about the top 10. Top 10. At number 10, the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks won a bye last week, but I like the Seahawks. I like what they've done so far this season. Mike McDonald and the crew doing their thing. At number 9, the Los Angeles Rams. This Rams football team was also on a bye last week, and so the Rams looking to make some things happen this week. They take on the Saints. We got them at 9. At number 8, the Buffalo Bills, after a 2-game losing streak, get a win against Carolina. And, they put up a 40 boiga. And, Josh Allen didn't even have one of his best games statistically. 12 for 19, 163 and a touchdown. That's a light day, very light day for Josh Allen. But James Cook, his 216-yard day, he was almost my king of the gridiron this week. But if I had to give the AFC, like if I did AFC, NFC, he would definitely have been my king of the gridiron on the AFC side. 19 carries, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns for James Cook. So, this was a good performance by Buffalo, and it's a good prime, a good tune-up before they get ready for the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. At 7, the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions could be higher in a lot of people's eyes. I like this Lions team, and I do think that the Lions will increase their ranking next week, but we'll see how they do. They're at number 7 for now. At number 6, the New England Patriots. Shout out to the New England Patriots. A nice win over the Browns, 32-13. And you can see this team continue to grow right in front of our eyes. And right now, they're the 2 seed, ladies and gentlemen. They are the 2 seed in the AFC. So shout out to New England and Drake May and the crew. And number 5, the Denver Broncos, led by Bo Nix, with their 44-24 beatdown. 44-24 beatdown of the Dallas Cowboys. And I really thought that was going to be a little bit more of a competitive game, but the Broncos went in there and punched them in the mouth. So the Broncos now in the top 5 for the first time in a minute, and they're sitting pretty right now, trying to see if they can creep themselves on up to that number 1 spot. At number 4, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, getting their 6th win of the season and doing a really good job in the process. It wasn't Baker's best game. I mean, Baker struggled a lot of it. No touchdown passes, but he had 152 yards, 15 for 24. It wasn't the sexiest, but they won the game. That's the most important thing against a division rival. They're at number 4. At number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles bounced back against the Giants after that embarrassing loss a couple of weeks ago, beating them 38-20 and showing why they are the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles have themselves a very, very, very interesting, couple of weeks ahead. And, they're on the bye this week. So they're going to chill out this week and rest up and get themselves ready. They got the Packers next week. I think, no. They got the Packers on. They got the Packers next week for Monday Night Football. So that'll be 3 versus 2, depending on how the Packers look heading into their next contest after they face the Carolina Panthers. At number 2, the Green Bay Packers. A nice comeback win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. That first half Packers team is a team that I loathe. That second half Packers team is a team that I love. That was what this Packers team could be if they play consistently. That was a really good performance against a Aaron Rodgers Pittsburgh Steelers team where they had every reason to fold and they didn't. Packers are at 2. At number 1, for the second straight week, the Indianapolis Colts, and the 5th time all-time here on the Power Rankings, the Indianapolis Colts have locked into the Power Ranking. For the second time ever, they're number 1 in the Power Rankings. I don't know where I got that 5 number from. But the Colts did what they needed to do. They went in, got a nice win on Sunday against the Titans, beating up on a division opponent, doing exactly what they needed to do. And now the Colts sitting in the driver's seat, best team in the NFL record-wise, best team in the AFC, currently the number 1 seed in the AFC. Watch out for Danny Dimes and that monster of a man, Jonathan Taylor, who's just scoring touchdowns at a premium rate. So watch out for Jonathan Taylor, Danny Dimes, and the Indianapolis Colts. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Top 10. Seahawks, Rams, Bills, Lions, Patriots, Broncos, Buccaneers, Eagles, Packers, and number 1 for the second straight week, the Indianapolis Colts. There it is. The top 32 teams, power rankings in the NFL. Excited where we stand as we head into week 9. But now we got to go ahead and finish this thing up right, ladies and gentlemen, with the finale. All right. In the finale this week are Week 8 Kings of the Gridiron. On the offensive side of the ball, Mr. Jordan Love grabbing his second player of the week here on Power Rankings, on the Power Rankings, as he went 29 for 37, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, a QBR of 134.2, and that 35-25 victory over Pittsburgh. Biggest thing about this, 20 straight completions. Jordan was extremely efficient against his mentor, Aaron Rodgers, getting the win. And on the defensive side, now it's not often that we give the player of the week to a player on a losing cause, but this is just Myles Garrett, 6 tackles, 5 sacks, and a forced fumble in that 32-13 loss to New England. And it's tough to watch somebody that great play on a team that bad. I'm so sorry for Myles Garrett, but hey, he getting paid handsomely to be on a team that bad. So there it is, our Kings of the Gridiron for Week 8, Jordan Love and Myles Garrett. Now we swing over to the Power Rankings top 5 MVP candidates. We got 2 new guys in here. Like I said, it fluctuates from week to week as I still try to figure out where I want to put this. But at number 1 has to be Jonathan Taylor. He deserves it, man. Like he is the MVP in my opinion right now if it dropped today. Number 2, Jordan Love, coming off that great performance. And he's having a solid year so far for the Green Bay Packers. Daniel Jones still doing his thing. We got him at number 3. Drake May, the New England Patriot, second-year man, has done some really good things there in New England, has that team 6-2, and in front in the AFC East, currently the number 2 seed in the AFC. And at number 5, I haven't quite quit the man yet, and that's Baker Mayfield. Ugly, maybe not the best game for him last week, but he still found a way to do Baker Mayfield things and get a win versus division rival New Orleans. So there it is. Taylor, Love, Jones, May, and Mayfield round out my top 5 MVP candidates, at least heading into week 9. Next, if the playoffs were to start today. Now, normal years, we've always started it this year, but I decided to start a little early this year because I enjoyed the scenarios. If the playoffs started today, the Indianapolis Colts would be the 1 seed in the AFC. The 2 seed would be the New England Patriots, and they would host the 7 seed Kansas City Chiefs. In the 3-6 matchup, we would see the 3 seed Denver Broncos take on the 6 seed San Diego Chargers, a.k.a. the LA Chargers, in a matchup. So a battle of the AFC West. Then in the 4-5 matchup, it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, the 4 seed, taking on the 5 seed Buffalo Bills. Right now in the AFC, 3 teams, count them, 3 teams out of the 4 teams in the AFC West would be in the playoffs if they started today. Heading over to the NFC, the number 1 seed, the Green Bay Packers. I said it last week. It doesn't even feel right I can't get the words out. That they are the 1 seed. It doesn't feel like they should be, but they are. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. The Packers are the 1 seed. At 2, the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Philadelphia Eagles would take on the 7 seed San Francisco 49ers if the playoffs started today. The 3 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers would take on the 6 seed LA Rams. Excuse me. I'm getting my Chargers and the Rams mixed up. To take on the LA Rams. And then in the 4-5 matchup, it would be the Seattle Seahawks versus the number 5 seed Detroit Lions, who've had some really good matchups in the last couple of years during the regular season. So that would be a very interesting matchup if the playoffs started today. Then we swing over to the record, so far in the season for your boys, 70, 50, and 1. 7-8 in week 6, 8-7 in week 7, and finally a solid week this past week going 9-4. I needed that week because it was a rough couple of weeks trying to get everything figured out there, but a win is a win, and the Packers were able to, the Packers, your boy was able to get the win, got the Green Bay Packers on the brain, but was able to get a win 9-4 in week 8. What am I saying? I'm sorry, y'all. Your boy tired. It's been a long week. I meant to say that we, your boy, me, that guy, went 9-4 record-wise last week. I'm so sorry, y'all. Like I said, it's been a very long couple of weeks. A lot of traveling, back and forth with the Commanders throughout this season so far. So thank God they're playing at home this week. I'm so excited about that. Now, as we move on to tonight, I got the Ravens winning tonight 24-14 over the Dolphins, and hopefully moving my Thursday night record to 6-3. We started off 4-0, then lost 3 straight. Now we've won 2 in a row. No, yeah. So we won 2 in a row. That's what we call a winning streak. And then last but not least, here are my picks for the week. I got the Packers, the Ravens, the Patriots, Chargers, Bengals, Steelers. That Steelers one could be controversial. They're taking on the Colts. The 49ers, Broncos, Lions, Jaguars, Rams, Bills, Seahawks, and the Dallas Cowboys, rounding out my week 9 winners. All right. Oh, wait a minute. One other thing with that. Go back. So, bye this week. The Browns, the Jets, the Eagles, and the Buccaneers are all on bye this week. Now I'm ready. Told you your boys all discombobulated, y'all. It's been a long day. Long week, and we're already here in week 9, and it happened really fast. So I got to get myself ready for Sunday Night Football. We got Seahawks versus Commanders in the throwback game. I cannot wait to see the Seahawks in their throwback jerseys. This is going to be so sweet. The Commanders, aka formerly known as the Redskins of the Washington football team, are wearing the Super Bowl era jerseys with the Commanders helmet and the stripes. So that'll be cool. I think long term that might be the solution there for the Commanders when it comes to jerseys, but we shall see. Well, with all that being said, everybody, thank you all for tuning in for another episode. Make sure you go enjoy some football tonight. If you got some high school football, you can attend tomorrow. Enjoy that. College on Saturday. And then, of course, NFL on Sunday and Monday. And then we get ready for another week of football heading into week 10. So we'll have one episode 188, week 10 next week. Same time, same bad channel. And once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in, and I appreciate you all for being a part of this. And for those who like the show, enjoy the show. For those who think your boy don't know what he's talking about, which guess what? It could be the truth. Your boy may not know what he's talking about, but that's what makes this fun. We're having a good time talking football. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, I'm your man, Darrell Owens. Thank y'all. Make sure you tune in to Bowie Television and check out all the great things they have out going on there as well. We will see you all next week for episode 188 of 101. Until next time.
One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.